Hey there. Today I am going to bottle my kombucha. So I've got this Saskatoon ginger fruit kombucha that has been in here for in secondary for actually 4 days now. I always let it go at least 2 days, ideally 3, sometimes 4, like today. Just the longer you leave it, the more sour it's going to be, essentially. Now what I've got here are, these are 500 ml Grolsch bottles, these green swing tops. They work really well for bottling it. I drink half of one of these each day, so the swing top's nice just because you can recap it and just leave it in the fridge. I've also got a funnel here so I can pour in. I've got a 2-cup liquid measure. I have a mesh strainer, and then a bowl here, and this is just where I'm going to wind up putting the fruit that's coming out of here, and then I can just compost it later. Everything here is actually sanitized now. Again, like I've mentioned before with the kombucha, it's not incredibly necessary. However, I do it simply because I do have Star sanitizer and it's super easy to use. So for the bottles, all I did was give it 4 or 5 squirts, just capping it, swirling it around like so, kind of coating the inside, and then dumping it out. I'll just dump some into this bowl because that's all cast off anyway. So 30-second contact time on that. Now what I need to do here is get all of this into the jar, into the bottles. It's going to be 4 bottles each. Problem is that I've got the fruit in here as well. All of the good stuff, all of the bacteria that are going to naturally carbonate these are stuck on the bottom. So my move for this is I just kind of swirl, but you have to keep burping the jar so that you don't have too much pressure building up from the CO2 in here. And I just do that until I can see that the bacteria is picked up off the bottom. There's just a tiny little bit swirling around there. So that's going to be good now. So I will just now pour this into here, catch a bunch of that fruit, which I will dump, and then we'll bottle this up. Pouring it in, like so. And this is just a process of repeating until you've filled the jars, or sorry, the bottles up. And so I'm going to do this. Kind of depending on the batch, I might have more or less actual kombucha, in which case the jars will be either a little bit more full or a little bit less full than they normally are. You want to make sure to give yourself a little bit of headspace. I'd say that up to about here would be my minimum headspace, just because it does need space in there for the gas to build up and then carbonate. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these up, and we'll take a look here in a second. So I've got my first 4 bottles all filled up, and I'm just down to the last bottle here. It's always important to hold that funnel off the top of the bottle, otherwise you can get some nasty foaming action here. Fill that up, trying to have these as even as possible. It's actually pretty solid right there. So then I just cap them. Now if I've spilt any along the bottles, I'll usually just give them a quick rinse off. As it is, there's just a little bit of kombucha down underneath them, so I'm just going to give them a little wipe off and they'll be good. I'm going to get them into the cupboard here in a second. What I've got here is just a little white vinyl tape. I'm going to erase this. It's just a dry erase marker, and put the date on it so that I know exactly when I put them in the cupboard for them to ferment, because I like to give them 3 days just to naturally carbonate. I find that's a good amount of time for them to be reasonably effervescent, but obviously not exploding or anything crazy like that. So I will get these cleaned up and in the cupboard, and we will see what they look like. So there we are, bottles in the cupboard, just in the kitchen here at room temperature. Like I said, it takes about 3 days, and these will be nice and sparkling and fantastic, ready to drink. Well, after 3 days, the kombucha is carbonated, and I just let this chill overnight so that it wouldn't foam over on me. If you just have it warm and you try to open it, it's definitely going to try to gush. So now it's ready to go. Now, anytime I have a fresh bottle before I go to drink it, because there is the sediment on the bottom, and that's the main reason to drink this stuff, I just swirl it around just to kick it up. See, you can tell it's definitely got some carbonation to it there. And I usually have half a bottle a day, so roughly like that. So as you can see, it's definitely got some good carbonation. So this is Saskatoon ginger kombucha. So it's got that Saskatoon tartness. It has the complex sourness of the kombucha, and definitely that nice ginger kick coming through. And then once you have that sparkling with the carbonation, it definitely just punches all those flavors out. It's beautiful. So yeah, that's how you can effectively bottle and carbonate kombucha. So keep Red 11.